Hi everyone, Dr. Victoria Scarbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Today is Sunday, March 15th. The Ides of March, I looked that up today. The Ides are the middle of the month, and so the Ides of March are on the 15th, and then the other days, the other months that have 31 days in them, the Ides also fall on the 15th. And for those whose, the other months who have, I think, 30 days, the Ides fall on the 13th. So that's just a little, you can Google it yourself, but I thought it was an interesting factoid, so I thought I would share it with you. So last night, I had the opportunity to sort of sit and relax, which is unusual for me. I was sitting, we had a fire going in the fireplace, and my husband had made some really yummy soup. Um, so it was just a really lovely, sort of nurturing environment. Um, and I was perusing astrology. I was looking at astrology, of course. And I was actually doing a little research on Bernie Sanders. I wanted to look and see um, when there were a couple of very major things happening in his chart. And the major players in his chart at this time and over the next couple of years are Pluto and Neptune. Now, Pluto and Neptune are both transpersonal planets. And so there's this energy of fate or fatedness. There is an energy that is energy beyond your control. And so these energies are rather difficult to discern as to what exactly they mean for him, at least for me. I don't feel like I've been studying astrology long enough to really uh, be able to pinpoint the energy. Pluto and Neptune are two very different energies. Pluto actually is a little bit easier to figure out. Pluto is the energy of transformation. It's the energy of death and rebirth. It's the energy of power. Um, it's the energy of the surrender of the ego or the personality to the soul. There's a sense of letting go with Pluto. There's a sense of uh, things that no longer serve sort of falling away. And he has, at this time, Pluto making 3 squares to his Mars. And squares create a crisis. And there are 2 types of squares. You can either have a crisis in action or a crisis in consciousness, a crisis in thought. And that's the type of crisis that we're talking about. We're talking about a last quarter square of Pluto um, to his Mars. Just a little factoid for those astrologers out there, or you're wondering how I get this. When you look at transiting planets in relationship to uh, the person's natal chart, the point on the natal chart is considered the stationary point. And so his stationary point would be Mars, and we have to see where Pluto falls. He has Mars in Aries, Pluto falls in Capricorn. That means that in relationship to his Mars, Pluto is 3/4 the way around um, the circle. So we have a last quarter square. And, you know, his whole life really is about questioning authority. He is progressive. He is um, he is for the people. He's very Aquarian in his way. And he does have Pluto in Leo, as do everybody born from 1938 to, what is it, 1959 or so, depended on 56, 50, 57, 58, 59, you know, there's a little overlap. So, but if you happen to be in that generation, your evolutionary edge is the polarity point of Pluto and Leo, which is Aquarius. And so this is the generation that has sort of seeded the Aquarian age, and he is part of that generation, as is Joe Biden, as is Liz Warren, as is Donald Trump, and anyone born in those years. So, but he is really, um, he's actually really um, a a Roosevelt, FDR Democrat. Like the New Deal went so far, but it only went because FDR passed away. He wasn't able to complete it, and there's a part of Bernie that likes that wanted to complete it. You know, it's interesting when Barack Obama became president. There was a lot of talk in the metaphysical community that perhaps Barack Obama was the reincarnation of Lincoln. Like he was like the next step, and somehow they were connected. And if I remember correctly, because I did look back, I did look at that time, there were connections to his chart and to the chart of Lincoln. I'm curious. I feel like maybe Bernie is like the um, well, he couldn't really be the reincarnation of FDR because he was alive when FDR was alive, right? So maybe that doesn't work, but certainly there's a connection there, and I think I'll have to take a look at that. Anyway, Bernie has Pluto making a square to his Mars now, and Pluto in Capricorn is the military industrial complex, the insurance industrial complex, the medical industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, all the industrial complex. So this is a serious energy, but it's also the energy, to a certain extent, it kind of makes sense that this would be happening at this time for Bernie, because this is really a collective energy, Pluto in Capricorn, um, activating his Mars, and sort of something that he possessed, this spirit of fairness, and this sort of Aquarian ideal that he has, um, is expressed at this time, sort of at the pinnacle of power. So, you know, Pluto in Capricorn could also be considered the president, really, because Capricorn is connected to sort of the father of the country, the leader, right, the administrator. And you know, Pluto deals with um, sexual energy, Kundalini force, money, other people's money, um, and those things. So um, that's going on in his chart. So that's a little bit easier to see that those industrial complexes that I spoke of are going to be fighting him. Okay, they're going to be trying to defeat him. And so we will expect to see big money come in. We will expect to see all of the people who hold the power now to want to, in some way, destroy Bernie Sanders, whether that's just by, you know, putting him aside and saying, oh, this is just some old hippie guy, um, you know, who says huge and is grumpy, you know, has this crazy hair. Um, so they might try to just say, this is just some old guy, some old hippie, but his message resonates. Now, the other thing that's going on in with Bernie Sanders and his chart is the planet Neptune. And Neptune is doing a number of things to his chart, has done a number of things to his chart. And that's what I was exploring last night. And I just found it fascinating that in 2018, Bernie Sanders had the sun make an opposition, Neptune make an opposition to his sun. I believe it happened 3 times in 2018. In 2021, 1 in 2022, Neptune will be making a conjunction to his south node. And I find that very interesting because the energy of Neptune is that of mass consciousness. And the south node is the energy of the past, but it also has to do with talents and abilities that we bring forth from other lifetimes. And so that Neptune, that mass consciousness, sort of moving into his south node, that's what I'm not sure what that means. So you're saying, why are you telling me this if you don't know what it means? I'm open to anybody, any astrologer out there who might have an idea of what this could mean in his chart. And when these things happened, I looked at his chart and when these particular things would be happening and how the other planets lined up. And there was a real sort of preponderance of action and activity by the asteroids, Pallas, Ceres, Vesta, and Juno were all very active in those charts. And so that energy of the feminine, very active in Bernie Sanders' chart. And women, no matter what you hear on television, women really do like Bernie. And Bernie has been working for women's rights his whole career, and gay rights his whole career, before people even considered that there were gay people out there, except for those odd, folk that obviously were mentally ill, right? I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that was the opinion back in the day, but Bernie was not of that opinion. All men and women are created equal. We should love and respect everyone, the highest to the lowest. Nobody's better than anybody else, right? So, if you have any ideas of what the South Neptune on the South Node can mean, I did actually read something in this book. I've had this book for a while, and I think it's out of print. It says How to Personalize the Outer Planets, the Astrology of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. It's edited by Noel Teal, and it's got a number of really famous astrologers in here speaking of this. And I was reading. This one astrologer was talking about Neptune, and Neptune is very difficult to understand, even for myself. And I have very prominent Neptune in my chart, and I have Neptune making aspects to my Sun. It makes aspect to my Mercury. It's close to one of my angles. It's close to my IC from the third house. So I have a very tuned in Neptune, as it were. And I also have a Pisces moon, which means that Neptune is the ruling planet of my moon. So I have a lot of Neptune energy, and I still don't understand it. I know what it feels like, but to describe it to you is not all that easy. But I did read something here, and I want to read this to you because I think this gives us a sense of Neptune. Okay. And so this is from this book, How to Personalize the Outer Planets. And this is the chapter written by Joanne Wickenberg. It says, Bringing the Outer Planets Down to Earth. Okay. Neptune, elusive, evasive, mystical, and idealistic. Neptune represents a part of you that can never be defined in concrete terms. It represents all that is and yet is not. It is the greatest illusionist known. It represents all things unworldly, things having no form, ideas that cannot be substantiated, beliefs that are truth but cannot be proven, and things that we fear but we do not know why. Okay. Neptune represents the part of you that wants you to believe in an intangible world, a part of you that is not concerned with form, structure, and experience as you consciously know them. It represents a part of you that wants to dream, to fantasize, to experience life with no limits, life with no form, life with no responsibilities, no expectations, no physical boundaries to limit your imagination. Neptune is the ethereal you. It wants you to experience life without structure. It represents your dreams, your fantasies, your doubts, your fears. It is your faith, your idealism, and your desire for a perfect world, your urge to escape from its existing imperfections. So, when um, in 2016, when Trump won the presidential election, the planet Neptune was actually conjunct the south node, the current south node. And that energy was bringing the collective's dreams and aspirations and need for a savior, because Pisces is the energy of the savior, okay? To bring somebody forth to fix everything that was broken. And the choices were Hillary Clinton, who was, in most people's eyes, one of the reasons why the system was broken. And then there was Donald Trump, the unknown entity, the guy who's been on television for 20 years, who's in charge of his world, who fires people, who gets things done, who's very successful. All Neptunian things, because Donald Trump really isn't any of those things. He's pretty much a snake oil salesman. He does have his Neptune in his second house, so we're not really sure if he has money. It's close to Jupiter, so there is this phantasmagorical energy that he has, and it's very, very big. And he also has it close to Chiron, and so in Libra he has Neptune in Libra, and so there's this sort of, we're never really sure, right? We're not really sure with him. I mean, maybe we're sure now, but at the time he was seen as the savior, and he was like, I'm the one who can fix it. I'm the one who can fix it. And people wanted it fixed. People were tired of the old way. And so he won the presidency. And so Neptune is a very potent ally, especially in the United States. Now, when Barack Obama um, won the presidency, Neptune was active as well. I believe it was making a square um, to his moon at that time. No, maybe not. It was doing something. Neptune was very active in that chart. I'll have to look back and let you know. I wish I had looked it up before I started talking about this, because I like to know what I'm talking about. But Neptune tends to be very potent in the United States anyway. I believe it might be the most. It's either Neptune or Saturn is the highest planet up top on at least in the Sibley chart. And natally, we have, in the United States, we have Neptune at, I think it's 22 degrees of Virgo, which incidentally is the north node of Bernie Sanders, 22 degrees of Virgo. So he is, by his nodal placement, connected to Neptune in the chart. And now he has Neptune opposing Neptune, will be opposing Neptune. Opposing the Neptune in the chart of the United States. And that's actually happening at the same, because that's happening in 2021, I think 2022. That's the first year, 2022 is when we have our Pluto return. So we are really going through this big transformational process in America. At the same time, you know, we have that power to imagine ourselves differently. And that's really the power of Neptune. It is it is a powerful force for imagination, and you can actually create something out of nothing with Neptune. But it also has to have something. Um, it also has to have structure. Like, it's not just about, whoop, like, because Trump was very much that sort of Neptune rabbit out of the hat kind of energy. But there hasn't been the structure to um, to support what he said he was going to do. Like, it was just all words. Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, it's not all words. Actually, in Bernie Sanders' chart, his Neptune is conjunct his North Node. He has Neptune at 26 degrees of Virgo. So this is somebody who takes that Neptune energy and makes it very practical, Virgo. So that's in the chart as well. Now, I bring all of this up because I just want to talk about a vision that I had. Now, I don't talk about my visions. I tend to try to stay very, as best I can, sort of non-emotional, very difficult for me. And it's been harder, anyway. Um, I like to look at it from a sort of a left brain kind of thing. And while I'm very intuitive and I am very psychic in my own way, I tend not to bring that part of myself out, mainly because I'm at the core of who I am is I'm a scientist. I've been a doctor for over 30 years, and I need proof before I'll say something to a patient or a client. So, I have to have that process that I go through. But I do see things and I do experience things. Um, I just don't really go there that often. But I want to tell you about a vision that I had. Every other week at the office, we have a guided meditation, and I have a few people that come every 2 weeks, and then a couple of people who come in and out of the meditation. So it was just two of us that night, and it was two people who meditate together. We've been meditating together for 10 years now. So there's a real flow. It's almost like all we have to do is close our eyes, and everything sort of comes up, and it's right there. You don't even have to do the guided part, but I do it anyway because it's like, it's just the thing. It's the way I do it, right? So in the guided meditation, we connect to Mother Earth. We connect to the great central sun. And during part of the meditation, I put, like I say, now within the center of the circle is a hologram of the earth, and you can see like this globe, sort of like visualizing it. And then then we send it love energy, and we send it healing, and what I was seeing was um, there were we were connecting with the earth and connecting with the earth in the center of the circle. Then we went to this great central sun, brought the energy back down. And so the earth was going through this process within the center of the circle that I was sort of like keeping my conscious awareness on. And at one point, after we were just sort of we were in the energy and connected to the energy and sort of like in this beam of light, um, I looked at the earth again, and there was this undulating, silvery, almost like a net, almost like chainmail, like beautiful, like that material, that shimmery and shiny. It almost looks like it's water, but it's not because it's shining. And so there was all of this, and it was like it's almost like the Christ grid had gotten like really filled in somehow, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. And I was looking, and it was like it was almost like looking at Quicksilver, like had that kind of feeling. And there would be like little ripples, and it was just like an amorphous. And I would see, like, I kept seeing out of the corner of my eye this little like thing poking up. And what was it? It was Bernie Sanders' hair. You know those they have the t-shirts where they just have his hair and his glasses. So and you know it's Bernie just by the hair, how it's like always sort of sticking up and like this, like it's like this. And I thought to myself, oh my God, he now he's got his hair all nice and flat because I'm sure they're putting a lot of product in it to keep it that way. But I thought to myself, the reason his hair is always like that is because it's like his antennas, because he's connecting to a higher source, right? So I see this little like Bernie, like hair head. It wasn't even his whole head; it was just the hair, sort of pushing up on this sort of amorphous, silvery, light-filled. I call it net of light that was around the planet, and it struck me that he is pushing up on that and his little hair he actually is getting through. And I feel like there was this message to me that he is part of his journey in this lifetime is to bring us to a higher level of compassion and love. He has a south node in Pisces, compassion and love, north node in Virgo, making it real. And now in 2021 and 2022, I believe, Neptune, the planet of cosmic consciousness and mass consciousness, is going to be activating that point. And I almost felt like this was an opportunity for us to really sort of change things. So Bernie Sanders is the voice who crieth in the wilderness. I went to Catholic high school. I actually went to Catholic high school, 12 years of Catholic school. And I was in the Glee Club. And every other year we would sing the Messiah. And there's a song called Comfort Ye. I think it might even be the first song. Comfort ye, my people. Saith your God, right? But there's a part at the end. I think it's at the end, and I think I have the book still from high school. Don't judge me. At the end it goes, the voice of him who crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord. And I thought, every time I see Bernie over the last 4 or 5 years that he's been really out there, that little song comes into my head. And I think, well, because that song is about John the Baptist, who was like this crazy man, right? He was like a berserker. He was out in the desert. He was like a psychic. He was a prophet. And in a way, I feel like Bernie Sanders is that energy of prophet. But in the case of Christ and John the Baptist was the announcer, and then Christ was the coming of Christ, right? So if Bernie's announcing something, who's coming? And it struck me that we're coming, that it's us, and he says it's not me, it's us. And he is sort of poking through that net to help us all sort of rise up and imagine a better world. And so I just thought I would share that with you. Tonight he's doing a debate with Joe Biden. A lot of people talk about blue no matter who. And I understand that. My point, and part of the point that I'm talking about this today, and many of you know that I just adore Bernie Sanders. From what I saw in the charts, the energy is there. He can do this. He can actually get the nomination. But he can't do it without us. And with the energies that are going on now, and with all this Neptune energy, and tomorrow Neptune goes into Pisces. Mercury goes back into Pisces. The power of Neptune is imagination. And because of the connection of the asteroids, I really feel like the power of women and creativity and visualization can get him to actually be the person who brings us into this new age. If we can do that, if we've gotten there enough. Now, it's possible that this is not his time, but there is something about him that, whether he becomes president or not, and I don't even want to say this because I don't want you to say, well, he's still going to make a difference, so it doesn't have to be president. I think it'd be better because I think things will start to develop in the direction that is best for everyone if he can get in. And if he doesn't get in and it's Biden, personally, even if everybody votes, I think Biden is easier for Donald Trump to destroy, quite frankly. So that's my own opinion, and you can take it or leave it. And I know I've said it before, and some people maybe disagreed with me, maybe not. But this isn't really a political discussion, even though it seems like it's a political discussion. This is more energetic, and this is what I'm seeing. And so I feel as though if we can imagine him into that, then he will have the power. We can access the power of Neptune, because Neptune is only 2 degrees off his south node, so it's affecting his south node. It doesn't really get going until 2021 and 2022, which is the same time that Pluto has we have our Pluto return. I would rather see somebody like Bernie Sanders in charge when we have to go through that. So pay attention to the differences and get out of your head with this stuff and get into your imagination and get into your heart. And what kind of world do you want to have? The coronavirus that we have right now, in like that, they took, I don't know how many billions of dollars and said, okay, we're going to put it here because we have to put it here to keep things going. We could do that with Medicare for all. We could do that with student debt. It's a decision where to put the energy and where to put the money, because it's there. I mean, it can be put there, right? And they keep putting this money into things that the average person is not really necessarily benefiting from. Probably the opposite. While people are getting richer and richer and richer at the top, because they just make the money. We're responsible for the debt, right? We're responsible to pay that off, to pay that debt, but we're not getting any of the benefit. So if we could just the way they, take a couple of billion from here and put it here and put it there for this corona thing, which incidentally, this whole corona energy is Neptunian. Okay, Neptunian. So, pandemics, epidemics, Neptune. Neptune is there are no boundaries. And a virus, there are no boundaries. You can do what you can do to protect yourself, but, it's easy enough to be overrun. Neptune can also be fear. And so we have to stay away from the fear. Because whatever we concentrate on, whatever we put our energy into, whatever it is that we concentrate and put our imaginations to, that's what we create. We're co-creative. We've always been co-creative. The difference between now and then is we can be consciously co-creative. So instead of creating being fearful and then creating more reasons to be fearful. Let's do it a different way. And I would suggest, because I'm a giant Bernie fan, that he is the perfect conduit for this kind of energy, because he is genuinely who he is. He is a good-hearted, a good soul individual who is here, and I saw it all in the charts. And perhaps if you're really interested, we could go and look at those charts together. I will have to do that on Zoom, which is it's just a little bit more complex to like get that done. If you want that, I'm willing to do that for you guys. But and kind of show you my thinking. But you can just believe what I'm saying, because this is what came to me. And so this was sort of a process of sitting down, and I was very disappointed about Super Tuesday. I had to like take a couple of days off. I was so upset and angry, and I had to move through that. The shift is coming, whether we put him in as president or not. I believe that if we do, we'll have a smoother transition. It's still going to be a fight. There's still going to be people in the government that do not want to let go. But if you're the leader, you have more power to make changes. And I think people, especially after this corona virus pandemic, whatever it is that's going to manifest and how that's going to manifest, I think it's going to be a lot easier to realize that we are our brothers and sisters keeper, and what we do to the least of us, we do to all of us. And those are all lessons that Jesus taught. Those were all the lessons that John the Baptist was saying Jesus would teach. So we are the Christ consciousness. In a way, that whole sort of visual that I saw over the earth, that net, so to speak, was like a Christ consciousness net. We are co-creative. We do not have to fight one another. We can cooperate with each other, and we can change the world. And so let's do that, folks. So if you can, watch the debate tonight and listen. There are big differences between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. And I know a lot of people just want things to calm down. But I'll tell you right now, things are not going to calm down one way or the other. But if we can put somebody in there who is in alignment with the changes that we need, instead of somebody who's going to just want to keep things the way they used to be, that's not going to work. So I want to thank you for giving me this time to talk about this stuff. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. I was going to do a reading. I was going to put the charts up. But I thought to myself, let me just talk to you guys and see what you think. So, comment below. I'm partial. I know it. I mean, you can say it, but don't hold it against me. This is not about arguments. This is about what I've seen, and I felt the need that I needed to share that with you. And of course, everybody has free will, so you get to do what you want anyway. And I'm just one opinion of many opinions out there. But I did see the vision, and I have heard the song in my head, and I just thought that this would be a good time to put this out there. So I want to bless you. Namaste, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all your love and your concern. If I look like a little bedraggled, like I did this morning, it usually means I just got up and I couldn't find a comb. I hadn't put any makeup on. I don't really wear that much makeup anyway, but I needed to get the information out. So for me, the information is the most important thing. So sometimes the rest of it doesn't that's not my main thrust, if you know what I mean. And for those of you who are wondering what the little circles were, the lights floating around my head, that's actually, I have a disco ball that is out on the pergola. And in the morning when the sun comes, it shines off the disco ball. So those are not orbs. They are just disco ball mirror ball things. So but I like them because they make me think of fairies. And I know there are plenty of fairies around here because they're always hiding my keys on me. Anyway, you guys take care. I love you all, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Watch the debate tonight. Okay, bye.